No matter how slow you go, you're still lapping everyone that's on the couch. Today we're talking about homesteading and off-grid living, and we are now P&W strong. Howdy folks! Today we're talking about homesteading and
I gotta get it back.
Howdy folks! Today we're talking about homesteading and off-grid living. Nah, get out of here. Thank you, excuse me, bye. So we are talking about homesteading and off-grid living today, but not quite that. So you might be asking, what is homesteading or what is off-grid living? Well, first off, homesteading and off-grid living are technically two different things, but homesteading originally kind of goes back to colonial times, where the colonizers that were coming in were purchasing land or claiming land for themselves to be able to build their home or their homestead on when they're coming over from England. And now kind of what modern day homesteading is basically just kind of living a life of self-sufficiency in that sense of, where you grow your own food, and that doesn't mean you have to go live off in the boonies, and kind of the same with off-grid living. Off-grid living really just means that you're not using any of the public service or utilities. And nowadays that's a little bit different because we have tons of people that do off-grid living, but they do need the amenities of having power, having internet. So it's not this primitive, I'm gonna go live in the woods and eat twigs and berries. It's more of a sense of you're not pulling anything from a power grid, you're not pulling anything from a water supply that's provided by the city. So basically you're just not having the normal amenities of water, sewer, garbage, power, all of those things. And those two kind of tie in a little bit together, where you're just using a little bit more of your resources, your brain, to become more self-sufficient and self-reliant. So today we're going to talk a little bit about kind of two a little bit more specific aspects of, say off-the-grid living or homesteading, and thinking of it more in a potentially, maybe an apocalyptic kind of situation where, like for instance, my family, most of the men in my family have some sort of trade skill that they either do as a job or that they do as a hobby, whether it be welding, carpentry, knife making, or even just having mechanical or electrical knowledge. These are all tangible skills that you can use in a homesteading or an off-grid environment. But with my family, the men in my family always kind of joke about, if stuff hits the fan, we just need to buy a plot of land that has basically a family compound on it that everyone in our family can just go and meet up at, and we can live there sustainably for some time. But with that, you need to be able to make sure that you have people that have those tangible skills. If you are just a bunch of city slickers that don't really have any tangible skills other than knowing how to MySpace and the book face, then you're not going to survive very long in a situation where you do have to forage for food, you have to hunt, you have to be able to put up your own electrical grid or supply yourself some sort of power. So with that, I'm just going to kind of go over the three big points, at least in my mind, for homesteading or off-grid living in this sort of apocalyptic sense, but it still rings true to non-apocalyptic, where you do have to kind of have these points in mind. So first off, before we get into the points, kind of to piggyback off of what I said about people having tangible skills, especially in apocalyptic sense, the main thing that you do need to do or you need to establish is having jobs or duties for the people that you're going to be with. Like my family unit consists of around 15 plus people. So establishing jobs to kind of create your, new society, if you will, in your compound or your family compound. And so with all that coming into light, there's 3 points that we want to talk about. So point number one is shelter. The ability to either create or maintain a shelter that is there. You do not have to go out and buy a piece of land that is bare bones, has nothing on it. You can buy a piece of land that has a nice, cabin or a home or something on it, but just making it your own and being able to fit the needs that you have is a part of establishing a shelter. And then also having someone that is able to maintain it in the sense of being able to do repairs or expand if you need to. If it's a little 10 by 10 shack and you have a 15-person family unit, 15 people are not going to sleep in a 10 by 10 shack. I mean, that's a modern day bedroom for most houses. So being able to expand, being able to build out, and being able to just accommodate for the needs of your unit. The second point is food. Whether you're hunting or fishing, or whether you have someone that takes pride in their herbology or horticulture, where you can do gardening or foraging for berries or for roots or things like that that are around you. Establishing a food source that is outside of the norm kind of ties into homesteading as well, where you're trying to take less from stores and provide more for yourself. So being able to establish a continuing food source and renewable that you can maintain. And you know where it's coming from, you know what's being put into it, and that's a big part of homesteading, of getting kind of out of the store as much as possible. A big goal for a lot of people is to be 100% homegrown. That's hard if you don't have the resources, because how do you get your meats? Do you feel comfortable with slaughtering if you have animals that you need meat for? Or more, I would say more attainably, being 75 to 80% from your own food source is probably a pretty good mark to hit, where you provide all of your own vegetables. You can even provide your own milk if you have milking animals. You can even make your own cheese. Then really the only thing that you're stuck with is buying meat from the store. And point number three is mechanics or power.
Just wanted to feel the power between my legs, brother.
So at some point you need to establish a power grid or something like that to your homestead or to your off-grid living situation, whether it be solar or whether you just link up a bunch of generators, whatever you can do. But power is a huge thing, so you're not having to run off of just fire.
Look what I have created! I have made fire!
You're running off of candlelight or having a big bonfire at night to, either A, keep everybody warm, or B, just produce enough light so that you can see. Now, also with the mechanics and the power situation, is having someone that is able to maintain your vehicles and potentially maintain that power grid that you've established, so that you don't have to rely on public commodities to fix or to upkeep your vehicles or your power. And through all of this, especially in a apocalyptic sense, we are essentially establishing a new society within our family group. So being able to function both as a family but also as a society, which is kind of what I alluded to before, of having jobs, so that you don't degrade back into just being primitive kind of savages where you don't communicate and you only fend for yourselves, where there may be people in your family group or your unit that you want to have at that home or at your homestead or your off-grid location, but they may not be able to offer a particular service or a trade or bring value to the group as a whole. But you need to be able to provide and take care of those people as well, because they are family, they are friends. Those are not people that you want to leave behind, especially in an apocalyptic situation. But on top of that, you do want to take into account everybody's skills and kind of apply them appropriately and as needed. And through all of this, you don't really want to lose your sense of humanity or your faith or whatever you believe in. That's something that's huge. That's kind of a core value, especially for us here that are, the strong, P&W strong. We're usually fairly mild or timid in our sense and our stance on faith and belief and things like that. But we do believe, we believe what we believe. We're not here to push it on anyone, but establishing your family group and being able to further your faith, further your belief, is also going to help you with your mental health, also physical health. When you feel mentally and spiritually emboldened, you want to go out and want to be successful, and you want to kind of rule the day. And so it can be a huge thing and a big advantage to you to be able to maintain that in those situations. So with all of this doesn't pertain to just men or just women, but it also pertains to you yourself, and taking a hard interest in the hobbies or skills that you may have or that your group may have for the betterment of that group. So whether it is sewing, carpentry, metalworking, or even primitive skills such as, you know, making tools out of wood or stone, or primitive campfire skills, or even building lean-to shelters for the time being. Those are huge things that you can employ, and especially if someone is passionate about it, why not employ those for the betterment of the group? And the final point that I want to make is that the success of this lifestyle choice is dependent on your ability and everyone's ability to accept and employ the skills of the people around you for the betterment of themselves and to further the longevity of your collective. So with that being said, that kind of ties into our ethos or our mantra of respect, encourage, teach, and protect. And this doesn't just apply to you or apply to someone else. This applies to everyone. So yourself and everyone. Respecting yourself, respecting others, encouraging yourself and encouraging others, teaching and learning yourself, learning for yourself, and helping and teaching others, as well as protecting yourself and protecting the others around you. So that was kind of our talk on homesteading and off-grid living. We will be getting more into that into the future, where we're talking about more about details of maybe how to establish farms, how to establish power, things like that. And we're going to be getting some individuals that will be coming onto the show to speak more on those topics that have the tangible experience and that we can show you maybe their properties or things like that in the future. But I do appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. And yes, we did rebrand, so we are no longer P&W Tactical. We are P&W Strong. You guys are the Strong, or the P&W Strong, as you follow us through. Another thing that we also did this week with the rebrand is we also launched our merchandise store, so you can get our merch. Our shirts haven't come in yet. We just got the shop opened on Monday, so our shirts haven't come in yet. But the links will be in the description of the video. They are some really, really cool stuff that we created. Tons of different things, from t-shirts to tank tops to hoodies to mugs. Tons of different things with our logos, different logos on them. So please be sure to check those out. Also, if you are looking for anything tactical or firearms related, check out 3 Aces LLC. If you are in the Spokane area, you can check out their storefront, or if you're not, you can always just look online on their Facebook and see their kind of posts and see what they have to offer. And then, as always, guys, be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications so that you know when we put out all of our new videos, and be sure to follow us on Instagram. All of our links and everything will be in the description down below. And once again, guys, respect, encourage, teach, and protect.